Hi, everybody. This is my small talk show about people who inspire me and people who motivate me to do something. So, today's guest is Kiki Febrianti, an independent filmmaker from Indonesia. Hi, Kiki. How are you?
Hi, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm also okay. I'm fine. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. I suppose it's very important we have this conversation because I really want audience to know your way and your path. And I also would like to ask you about what it is to be an independent filmmaker today in this era, in this period. But let's start from the beginning. Maybe you can tell us a little bit what urged your interest in filmmaking. How did you start?
Well, it's long story, but let's make it short
Yes, let's.
because I have to back to my childhood. Yeah.
Okay.
So at the beginning, at first I was actually inspired by best friend of my grandparents,
Mhm.
and he was photojournalist. Yeah, and
Okay.
so he often show me his work. And then I was thinking, okay, I will become photojournalist too, like him. And also my family, they love watching movies,
Mhm.
and my parents, my grandma, my parents, and then they often took me to watch movies in cinema just nearby my house. So we just took a walk like 5 minutes, it's already there. And then I think the guy who worked there as cleaner already got used to know it, got used to me, like
Yeah.
visiting the cinema. So usually before the cinema open, he invited me to just play inside,
Mhm.
to just take a look the posters of the movies and just sit inside of the cinema before there are another audience. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
so that's how I was interested in film.
So it was
And
from your very childhood when you were just a
yeah,
kid.
yeah.
Mm.
And then in 2008 there was, when I was in university, there was a documentary filmmaking workshop in docs, uh, came to my university in Jember, East Java.
It's Jaffa.
And then yeah, and then I tried to join this event, and then I was selected. My story was selected to receive scholarship to be produced, and then that's how I started filmmaking. So
Oh.
2008, I made my first documentary film. Yeah,
So it was like 12 years ago.
yeah.
Yes, 12 years ago. What was your first film? What was it about?
Uh, it was about two-person uh, who they labelize that they have a mental illness,
Mhm.
and I made the story about them, about their feeling, about their life, how they struggle, how their struggle to be accepted in society, in their family, their environment. Yeah,
Mhm. So it was about mental illness and it was about the place, about the asylum. Yes, because I watched your
yeah.
film. I know a little bit the plot.
Yeah. So at the beginning, it opened. The founder told me it was first just the place for learning Quran, like reading
Mhm.
Quran. But then many people came to just shelter these
Uh-huh.
people.
Okay.
So it become this kind of place to like shelter for the people with mental problem. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
How did you find this story? How did you find these people? How did you find your subjects?
Actually, I already kind of like friend with the founder of this Islamic boarding house, the Al Ghafur Islamic boarding house, because my mom was working as teacher in the elementary school near the boarding house, and that's how I knew him. And I often curious because these people who stay there, the people with mental illness, what people said, just freely walk,
Mm-hmm.
freely communicate with people in neighborhood. So they are not like in asylum, like we sing, like
Mm-hmm.
inside of the room they cannot go outside. On the contrary, they are make interaction, they made interaction with locals there. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
I
what
see.
interested for me. Yeah.
But I mean that this topic is quite specific, yes, and it's
Yeah, like the beginning usually we think that they are dangerous, they are we need to avoid them or something like that. But what I always learn from my childhood, like they just like us, they just
mm,
no different with me. They can communicate with people, they can socialize, they can work. I'm thinking, uh, how's how is their life actually
mm-hmm.
facing the situation, facing the society, facing their family. It's interesting for me. It just like how I see myself through these people, through my subject. So that's how
Yes.
that's why I made this film. And
How did your subjects react when they saw the camera? Yes.
yeah, actually it's funny thing, the question how the subject react to the camera. In my case, in that first film, like the subject was, I try to make them like to got used to it with the
Mm-hmm.
camera. So during the research I also I brought camera, so they kind of got used to it. That and they were like okay with this. Like
Mm-hmm.
on the contrary, one of the crew that I brought to the location, uh, whom supposedly I asked him to record this, like because I was directing, so I tried to communicate with the subject, and
Mm-hmm.
he needed to record. Uh, he cannot, like he like nervous. So
Mm-hmm.
I, so somehow the what unexpected reaction was not from the subject but from
Mm-hmm.
one of the crew. Yeah,
Yes. Well,
yeah,
actually, this question is always makes me wonder, how do subjects, any subjects, react to the camera? Yes, if we are talking about documentary filmmaking. That's why I'm always interested in that. And
mm.
I'm really happy you made this film, and it is open, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so the audience
Yeah,
can watch.
yeah. It's in the website. It called India and Culture
Okay.
Unplugged. Yeah,
Okay, so we can put it we can put
sure,
it
sure,
below. Yes.
sure.
And if I'm not mistaken, you were selected with this film to different film festivals, and you also attended STEPS, International Film Festival of Human Rights in Ukraine, in
In
Kharkiv,
Ukraine, yes.
in
Yeah,
2013, right?
14, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's long time ago.
No, no, no. It was in 2013, Key.
Ah,
It was
okay.
in 2013, right? It
Yeah,
was in
yeah, yeah.
2013.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
it was you received the award within that festival. You received an award for being the best documentary filmmaker,
Mm,
and
yes.
it was exactly with the film Jangan Bilang Aku Gila, Don't Call Me Crazy.
Don't Call Me Crazy.
Yes. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your experience.
My first festival was in India. It was selected in India. For me to screen my film for the audience, to wider audience, is already kind of like happiness, yeah, because it's my goals to give awareness to people about this situation, about my subject, about the condition, yeah. And then when the festival gave me this award, it's like a bonus, because for me it's already happiness that people know the condition there in my hometown with these people. Yeah, it's like bonus, so it's like extra happiness, of course. Plus the ambassador of Indonesia for Ukraine also attend the festival, and she and the staff also very supportive. So yeah, I was very happy with that. Yeah.
You were happy to share with the audience, right? To share the story.
Yes.
I can understand you so well. And can I ask you about your second film, which was also independent, and it was Yup, It's My Body? Yes.
Yeah.
How did you choose the topic and the subject? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about that film.
So actually, this the second film, Yup, It's My Body. I made that. It's like a diary, because I will graduate from my university soon, and all the years I stay with them, with my subject, which is also my roommates, my flatmate in boarding house. Yeah. And I noticed like some habit of us, of all of us, like we always discuss about the body image. I try to diet with this way, I try to diet this way, and it's like I ask them, why you do this? What for? In my boarding house that time, it's most of them try to lose weight. Especially one of the closest friend with me, her name is Sarah. She more often to share with me about her life, her way, like something like that, because we are like family in that boarding house. So I try to documentate that as kind of like memorabilia, yeah. So I recorded. I started recorded with the mini DV. So I used that to record at the beginning. I used to record the activities, the situation in my boarding house with that handycam. And the cassette, at first I was using actually recycle cassette, so I didn't buy. I got the cassette, the mini DV cassette, from the recycle wedding shooting. And one of my friend, he was a journalist in television, that shows the cassette that he already digitized, he gave me. So I kind of like use this cassette again. And then Indocs somehow, I read announcement that Indocs open again the scholarship, like for master class. So I applied with this story that I already record before. So I just went deeper with this topic about the body image.
So nowadays, the topic of body positivity became an agenda. Yes, and your film Yup, It's My Body is 2009.
Yeah.
9. So it was
9
like
and 10. Yeah.
10 years ago, 11 years
Yeah.
ago, raising the topic of body positivity. Yes. So you were ahead of the time, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I suppose this kind of issue, like yeah, it's so bad that for a long time still we have still this kind of issue. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Kiki, it's very nice where you lead the conversation into cassette way, yes, and into
Yeah.
so as I understand, like 12 years ago, you still could witness the pre-digital era, yes. You
Mm.
still could work exactly with films, maybe you can tell us a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about that. Do you
Mm.
see the difference in analog
Oh.
filmmaking and digital filmmaking? Yes.
Yeah, actually it's kind of like quite different, like because when it was analog, of course it costs a lot. Yeah, if we talk about production, because you need to buy cassette, mini DV, and one cassette approximately like 20,000 rupiah,
Mm-hmm.
like $2 probably that time. And then one cassette can record like 60 minutes, like 1 hour approximately. And now you can just have a SD card or just memory card, so all digital, so anytime you can just record whatever you want, whatever you like, and then you just transfer it to hard disk or your computer, and that's it. So you
And you
just
can
need to
reuse
buy,
it all the time, right? The
you
SD
can,
card.
yeah, I mean, you just buy one time or two times, like you just bring a couple, and but you can repeat, use this card like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to
Yes.
worry that in urgent situation, in such kind of situation, that you finish the cassette, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And also, but the thing is, I feel, at least myself, I feel like with mini DV cassette, it's like we train to be more disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
I train more discipline with this, because I need to more like precisely thinking about the budget, thinking about the time. Uh, yeah, something like that. I even
Mm-hmm. So you have
uh,
limitations, yes? I mean, like with the
yes,
analog
yes,
filmmaking, you have some limitations.
yeah. I have some limitation, but there's also like kind of like pros and cons, of course. Yeah,
Yes.
the time I remember, because I do everything by myself. I put mark in the cassette, because always like sticker there. And during the editing and post production, I sat next to my editor. I I can remember precisely. Okay, this kind of footage in the cassette, number this, and
Mm-hmm.
in the time code approximately this kind of minutes, this kind of seconds. Yeah, maybe a little bit different, but I can remember like this. Yeah, it's easier because we have like, yeah, I still save my mini DV cassettes. Yeah, so I can sometimes I try to memorize. Oh, that time when I shoot film, I need to really remember these things. Yeah,
Yes.
and yeah, that's about the production. And then yeah, and then also later about distribution. It was, of course, more expensive that time rather than now. It's much cheaper because we can do it online. Yeah.
Yes. Kiki, I know also that you are working as a film crew in different projects. You sometimes you become director, sometimes you become assistant of the director, sometimes you become producer, and you are working not only with documentaries but with different media. Maybe you can share with us a little bit about the shooting process itself. What is the shooting process for you?
Uh, it's different. Every production has different kind of type. Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
let's make it something more general, like between like documentary and non-documentary. For instance, non-documentary, usually we have more crew.
Non-documentary fiction.
Non-documentary fiction, or it can be advertisement or something like that. Yeah, anything which is not documentary. Usually I, at least in my situation, in my case, I had experience work with more crew for non-documentary, and for documentary I prefer to, at least so far, I prefer to work with smaller crew. And usually in documentary I can choose my own crew. I prefer to choose my own crew, whom I already know. Like we already know each other, the pace, the character, and everything, because how we communicate, we not always agree to each other, but we already understand the language. Yeah.
So it's like in documentaries you prefer to have a chamber crew, yes, just like a couple.
Yeah, like more intimacy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I understand. Okay, Kiki, and what is because you know, in Facebook and everywhere I'm following these groups about filmmaking, and funny groups, I mean, yes, and a lot of people are saying that it is very, very hard works, that sometimes you, because you know that I also took part in some shootings, and I remember it was a very big surprise for me when I came to the shooting location, and the everything ended like in 24 hours. So I had a 24 hours shooting day, and it was a disaster for me. But you know, somehow when you are in the process, in the shooting process, you don't see the time flies. You don't see that, you don't feel that. Somehow it was really amazing for me, and somehow I was really into that. And I suppose that if you are working in that field for already more than 10 years, probably it also gets your attention, yes, and gets your interest in that. And maybe you can give advice to young filmmakers. What is it to be in the shooting process? Do you like that? What is that?
Yeah, if we talk about non-documentary, for instance, there's actually always time. We have call sheet there, that we have schedule, like crew call this time, for instance, 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. And then we get there and prepare and everything, and then we started shooting like maybe at 7 or something like that, and we supposedly finish the shooting at this time, for instance. It's in non-documentary, it's probably kind of like actually more precise about the time. But in documentary we don't have this kind of like a specific time. We shoot based on our research actually, but of course uh, we got used to it. We know, oh, okay, my character usually wake up at this time, usually this time she go to school, or at this time usually she goes to pray or something like that. During the shooting it can be different,
Changing, yeah.
sometimes changing totally sometimes. So that's how we adjust. Sometimes we even, if there's a moment, that unexpected moment in the middle of the night or very
Yes,
early
yes.
morning, yeah. So in documentary I feel that I, like, my brain always stand by, even while when I was sleeping, I also like feel like my brain also working, you know.
Yes, yes.
Like I need to be aware like all the time during the documentary shooting.
Because you are following the subject or the subjects, yes,
Yeah,
because you are
yeah,
following your story, yes.
yeah, yeah. Many people saying like when I meet the people, friends or family or just strangers who knows that, who knew that, oh, you are working in film, oh, it must be cool, oh, it just, so you travel a lot, it will be like red carpet, you met celebrities, you have nice, must be you have nice kind of photos for your social media, like behind the camera holding clapper board or something like that. Yeah, it's cute things about this, but it's not all only about that. Actually, many things happen that because you need to love and have passion in it, because it's not I would say it's not easy work, and it's for me it's not just work, it's just not profession, but it's part of life. So if you
Mm-hmm.
don't love it, it's even harder,
Yes, yes.
probably. Yeah, honestly I don't really know that we have like precise time schedule, time working. Like for instance, if people who work in office, they have specific time like 9 to 5, but
Yeah.
in film we don't have this,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes we have to catch some moment. Like for instance, we need to shoot the sun goes down or the sun goes up, like sunrise, sunset, for instance. Yeah, it just
Yes, yes.
example, just something that explicit, that is easy to explain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, many things like that.
And I agree with you absolutely that if a person has no passion about that, it's very hard, because it is hard for people who have passion in that. Yes, who have passion in filmmaking. Okay. And maybe you can tell us, Kiki, a little bit about your independent way of uh, post production. Yes, you go further to post production. Post production is editing, and then an independent filmmaker needs to go to distribution. So, what is your way? What is your treatment in these two positions?
Yeah, it's different every filmmakers. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they have different goals. Some of them not really prefer. I know some people who don't want to distribute, so they made I yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
like they prefer not to screen in the festival, for instance, only for the community.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them only want to screen in the festival, but not, yeah, it's but not online, for instance, if we talk about nowadays.
Yes.
But for me, yeah, if we talk about generally, I want, when I made films, I want to show this to people, to audience, and for independent filmmakers that usually we don't have producer, or we don't have publicist, special publicist or distributor. We usually distribute our films by ourselves. Yeah, so that's what I do.
How, thank you. How do you usually distribute? What kind of way do you use? I mean, like, I know there are a lot of platforms nowadays, like
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Film Freeway or something
yeah,
that you can apply
yeah,
online.
yeah,
Maybe you
yeah.
can tell us a little bit about that.
Actually, it's very big different if we talk about the past and now, because
Mm-hmm.
in the past, uh, we 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 need more cost
Mm-hmm.
to 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 submit our film, because we need to make copy in the of our film in mini DV or VCD. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
later we have VCD and then DVD, uh, and we have to send the copy of our film to the festival through courier, through post office or something like that. And uh, if the festival is abroad, for instance, of
Yes.
course it costs extra. Yeah, and
To
if
use the post services, right? To use the post
yes,
service and
yes,
to.
Yes, yes. And if the festival requests our film, usually they will cover the cost. But if we submit our film, it means the cost is on us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And nowadays it's already online that you don't need to pay anything. There are a lot of film festival that you don't need to pay,
For free, yes. So
just
the
for free.
submission is for free. Mm-hmm.
Submission is for free, and you just need to upload your film through internet platform. It's like maybe Dropbox, maybe WeTransfer, Film Freeway, Mega, uh, many things. Film
Mm-hmm.
Freeway, Film Depot, many platform nowadays. And also because of this digital way, also uh, more and more we cannot count, maybe like 1,000 million film festival as well
Yes.
that we don't know. Yeah.
Yes.
And it gave more chance for us to try as well to distribute our film, which is
Mhm.
cheaper and perhaps easier as well.
How do you think, Kiki? Is it easy, and um, is it easy to be an independent filmmaker? And how do independent filmmakers usually search for funds? Because I know that funding films is not an easy way. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. To make the film that really your idea, really your
Mm-hmm.
feel that you really want to make this certain project. For instance, it's not easy because sometimes we apply or submit to some of grant of people or organization. It's not easy because there are also tons of filmmakers who also apply to the same program, for
Exactly.
instance. And also sometimes we are not selected. It's I believe that sometimes if we are not selected, it doesn't mean that your film is bad or your project is not good. Sometimes it's about the taste as well. Some people also do some business or do another job, like and they save some money to make film that they like. I know there are some filmmakers who are farmers. I know another filmmakers who are civil servant actually, or they have another job. It just
Yes.
or me, like I became like I am a freelancer in a crew in any kind of department sometimes in film production in Jakarta. So uh, I mean, if you're really passionate about this film, often sometimes people think, oh, you work in film, you must be have a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Like it can be yes or no. Sometimes because the goals, sometimes the goals of working. Uh, when we have money, we try to pay our rent first, to buy food, like the basic thing we try to provide ourselves. And then
Pyramid of Maslow. Yes.
yeah, but what usually, at least me, when I am at work, or yeah, when I at work, or when I receive a call for project or something, what came to my mind usually, okay, I will save some money. I it means if they mention like this is the fee or this is the budget, so usually I think, oh, okay, this just enough for my food, for instance, or this is just enough for my rent. But what came to my mind always, okay, I I need to save money for my next project, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing that came to my mind, is to have even just a little bit, like even just 50,000 rupiah to save for uh,
Your film, your next
my own
project.
film. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Kiki. So I understood that, like a lot of independent artists and independent filmmakers, you are just trying to make money from your freelance job, but somehow this freelance job turned out to be filmmaking in your case. Yes. So you are a filmmaker, a filmmaking crew working for your own independent films. Yes. So it's like, but that's life. Yes. And I would like to ask you about your latest projects. It's one of them is documentary film
Documentary.
Chalalai. Yes,
Hmm.
documentary film Chalalai. You can tell a little bit about that. Hmm.
So my latest project, one is documentary. It called the title is Chalalai in Between Us. It's about the fifth gender.
Hmm.
So in Indonesia, in Bugis culture, in South Sulawesi Island, they believe in five gender, which is
Hmm.
written in Lagaligo manuscript, that human consists in five gender, male, female, bisu, like they are like shaman, like the priest, and then calabai and calalai. And I made about calalai. Uh, yeah, so it's like the Bugis people, they have their own system, which is beyond, like they are very
Hmm.
great. I think, and very interesting for me.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I suppose it is also interesting for nowadays society, because the more the everyday the agenda of different roles. Yes, society
Yeah,
roles and
yeah,
society genders. We discuss it as.
yeah. Because nowadays also, like already, like not only nowadays. Actually, it's all actually many. For instance, like many men actually they become like work at home, like taking care of the kid, like
Mhm,
become the father. Not only they are not working in the office, for instance, yeah, and the wife who are working in the office, and which is in some society it's like strange or not common, but for in as long as I learn, that's why I made this film. In Bugis society it's okay. Or
mhm,
if women work, for instance, in construction, women become in engineering technician, or filmmakers, journalists, police officer, or something like that, or
mhm,
even president. It's not something like strange for in Bugis
mhm.
society. Yeah, I'm not Bugis, but so far that what I learned about this kind, so Chalala is something like that. It's so if you are biologically woman, it's okay. Like for instance, you now become filmmaker, which some people consider this as main roles.
Yes, a
Yeah.
lot of professions in our world is considered to be men's. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
And okay, Kiki, and I also want to ask you about your latest project, the film Roti, which means
Hmm. Right.
bread in English. Yes. And if I'm not mistaken, it is a microfilm, right?
Yeah, it's the duration only 30 seconds.
Oh, so
It's a fiction, but based on true story.
oh yes, but if it is based on a true story, don't tell us the story. Yes, because it's only 30 seconds.
Hmm.
So don't spoil anything. Yes, no spoilers.
Yeah, but it will screen online. Actually, already screen in the
Mhm.
film festival, feminist film festival in Berlin,
Okay.
and during this Corona time, they will screen again the selected films in that festival online.
Okay, so maybe we can also give any link or information below the
Sure,
video.
sure,
Yes.
sure. Yeah.
Uh, okay, Kiki, I think I will try to finish our conversation, even though it's very interesting and very useful to get all these stories from you. What do you, are you in the process of something during this coronavirus times or something like this quarantine? Do you have any plans, any future projects?
So yeah, during this corona time, that which is we already in quarantine, yeah, all of us, like perhaps most of us in quarantine. Uh, I'm working on a video project, which is I'm doing it in documentary way in the treatment, but the result will be like video art, like experimental, yeah.
Okay, so you like this moving images language, yes? I actually love
Yeah.
it so much as well.
Yeah, I mean, video like audio visual. I like audio visual. I like video so much because yeah. Beside as maker, I also like enjoy like as audience. I love to spend my time to just watch short videos, short films, or I spend time in before the corona time. I like to spend alone time in just go to the cinema. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, I can clearly understand you. Yes.
yeah,
So that's the language that you like to consume and that you like to produce, right?
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
language.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, Kiki, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I'm really glad about that. I hope we can meet again and discuss maybe some other topics. And maybe we can discuss your next project when you already done, when this coronavirus is done. Yes, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Kiki, for sharing everything. Okay, sampai jumpa. Yes, until we meet again. Sampai jumpa. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. And now I need to end the meeting. Yes, we're. You see, this coronavirus gives us different
Awkwardness,
challenges.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
It's
Awkwardness.
okay.
Yes,
Still recording, I know.
because we
So,
already said goodbye to each other, but I need to
all
find
right.
the
Okay.
button of ending the meeting. Yes, I
Yes.
think I'm done. Okay, Kiki, thank you so much. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Thank you. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye bye.